Here is part 3 of day 4 of the 90-day self-journeys retreat in 808 Tavern. Today is the expressive self-exposing day, where I've been exposing my pain, exposing my traumas, my inner childhood wounds, and the things that have been hindering over me and hovering over me, and which I have chosen within the past year. And in this chapter, which I consider the chapter 4 of my life, as I break my life in increments of 7. And I'm still in my chapter 4. And with a year remaining in chapter 4, I'm considering so much of what is going on in my life and being willing and able to cross over into the greatness of just this new decade, the new opportunities. I'm so happy and grateful, but I wanted to be real and authentic and share that I'm not perfect and that there are things that I had to heal from. There are parts of my ego in which I had to let die away. There are parts of my pain in my past in which no longer serve me. In order for me to grow and elevate, I had to let go of the heaviness. And that doesn't mean that I can't be expressive and bring it back up, because I've healed from it so much. I can talk about it any way I want. Only thing is, I'm learning that triggers go based on what you have not healed. So ultimately, if there's anything that I ever speak in my videos that you feel triggered by, first evaluating yourself is necessary, because those are the things that obviously you still have to look at. And that's what I learned about myself and my pain is if I see something that is good or bad and it triggers me in any type of negative way, or sometimes even a positive way, I evaluate it and I think about why it triggered me in general, to be able to think so hard about it or to feel so, good or bad about it. And that's what I'm getting confirmation and learning how to do, is just really understand my wounds and how to heal them. And as I've been doing so, it's been a beautiful, beautiful journey. I love being celibate. I love being kind of not really antisocial, but kind of like antisocial right now, especially during this retreat. It's a retreat, so it's necessary for me to be utilizing this time in a quarantine to get back into diving into getting to know myself again. Because as this being chapter 4, that means I went through 4 cycles of 7 years, and I'm able to now revisit my old self just so that I can kind of see what things I've grown from, learned from, have experienced, enjoyed, the good and the bad. And I really am very glad that I am choosing to take this time to do so, because this is probably the most spirit-filling and self-empowering journey ever. So back to chapter 4, as I was saying in my previous video, the burdens of my chapter 4, like I said, were losing a child and then having the person deny, and knowing myself that I was sleeping around with more than one person. But just knowing based on how far along I was, who it was, and then them denying it was just enough of a burden, as well as not being able to fulfill what I had intended to do, which was graduate that semester, in which I didn't, because I had fell into depression and had other family issues and other things that I overcame. But ultimately, I never healed from this particular wound. And that is what I'm speaking about in these 3 videos today, is exposing the wounds that have been lingering over me and that I have finally been able to choose to strip from my ego and heal from and live in my truth. And those who know me have heard my stories and heard the things that I have expressed and chosen to share with them. And right now, what I'm sharing and doing and being very vocal with the world, I'm only sharing bits and pieces of what I am choosing to want to share. I don't got to tell all my business, but I'm sharing what I want, because I understand that a lot of people go through pain. A lot of people go through suffering, depression, anxiety. I'm telling you, school, one thing I had was tests. I hated taking tests and anxiety of that, but I completed it. And I encourage anyone to just keep pushing when they're in hard situations. Never give up on yourself. Never give up on you. And that's what I never did. And I always had my own back, at least, because you can't depend on people. You have to depend on you. And then that way, when you're let down by people, you know that God got you and that you got you, and God is within you and all around you. And that's just how I view it. And so aside from the child loss, Getting kicked out of the ROTC and being a resilient person, I had to get back in the program so I could try to complete it. And I pushed to do so. I completed everything within the program, and it still didn't work out the way that I anticipated. But, I understand that things happen for a reason, and I was able to let that go. So that's not a heavy burden that I carry on me. And I know that in this next decade, there's a whole nother type of journey for me. Just God has ready and waiting. And whatever way he's going to flip it and make it up and, spice it up, I'm ready for whatever I have to take on. Possibly, continuing my education or continuing in a career that I wasn't even trying to embark on. But that's just the facts of life. Things kind of go left when you were going right. But ultimately, you can kind of choose after you've experienced them all what actually suits you and fulfills you and makes you comfortable when you wake up every day knowing that this is what you're doing with your life. And that's what I'm choosing to do, is focus on being comfortable with what I'm choosing to do with my life. And definitely thankful for the experiences that I've had and the places I've been to find this ground frame for my next chapter, which is to be coming soon. And as I heal and complete and close out cycles in this chapter 4, one thing that was the heaviest and most influential thing was my marriage. And that person that I married is a wonderful, blessed spirit. I don't care about his personal things, his personal past. All I know is, to me, he was important, just as important as anyone else that I've ever dealt with in my life. And I always pray that those people that I was always attached to, friends, relationships, family, whatever, are blessed and are favored and protected. And that's what I always do. And I definitely pray for him and his family. But that situation between, the burdens, the infidelity, the lies, the betrayal, the deceit, just spiritually feeling those heavy energies and emotions was enough for me. Most of us, if not all of us, have the intuitions and the intuitive knowledge to be able to feel now, at least by now, with the way the earth's vibrations are, the energies of other people and their intentions. And sometimes just because a person's intentions aren't bad, doesn't mean that their spirit doesn't have cycles that they're still trying to heal from. And ultimately, I feel as though we healed each other in certain ways from things that we were holding on to from our past by marrying and by taking a leap of faith. And it was a beautiful marriage, all in all. The burden of it was the divorce. And it was hard for me because I had to realize that I needed to still heal a lot of things about myself. We didn't go into the marriage completely on faith. We didn't go into the marriage on the sake of God. Although we are both people who were born up, with the monotheism religions and Christianity and, Muslim culture, we both still needed to heal certain things. And he had his own love already, especially because he was a father. And I had picked that up almost as if it triggered me to have fallen in love with his daughter, knowing that I hadn't had the opportunity to have my child. So I think those were things that I needed to just really revisit and really look over and evaluate and take the time to be patient with myself. I didn't anticipate him or his family or anyone he knew or even people I knew to understand, because it was me. It was my journey and it was my wounds. It was my cycles that I needed to really sit down and reevaluate. And I couldn't do that while trying to balance the lies and the not giving him enough attention and all that. So it was ultimately a mutual choice. That's why we're still friends to this day. And I ultimately wish him all the best, as well as I wish everyone else in my past the best. And looking forward to seeing great futures of every person that I know. And if I don't see or hear from them, I just wish everyone, the best in the world, because we all balance each other, our experiences, our one-night stands, our soul swaps, and our ties, all those things. We're still feeding energy towards one another. If you're connected to God, then we're connected as a people. And that's how I view it. And I feel like the walk that Black Jesus took was ultimately the embodiment of all of the men and women, whoever was nailed to a cross or hung on a tree. They are a soul embodiment of the depiction of Jesus in my mind. So ultimately, that's why I say that we are all connected. So because of that, it is very important for me to find comfortability and stability within myself so that I can be able to align with the truth of the world and where we're going, because I value more than anything the beautiful children of this world, and I want them to have better lives than myself and my generation, my parents and their generation, the generations before that, and just so on and so forth, even my siblings. I just want there to be better for our children and for the children to come after them. And ultimately, there's a lot of hate that needs to be healed in the world, but I cannot control the world. I am not like the holder of the earth, but I am able to control myself and to choose to heal things that no longer serve where I'm going. And as long as I can be able to embody the light and the love within myself and pour it outside of my body the way that I was able to do before, as long as I'm doing that, I'm in love with my wakings and my going to sleep. I have wonderful nights and I have wonderful mornings. I am getting back into my discipline, getting a lot of mental clarity. And as this is a retrograde, I'm actually enjoying being able to filter through my cycles, being able to be at peace with myself and be in my privacy, to go for runs in the morning when no one's outside, running around Baltimore City, just being back home and feeling like a little girl again, but ultimately not being a little girl, but being a woman and molding myself, as this is my molding season. And that is a part of the retreat, a huge part of the retreat. And although that divorce was heavy, it was mutual and we're still close. So I was able to thank him actually for coming into my life the time he did, and for God bringing me to him the time that he did in the way that he did, because it was like a slap in the face, but then it was like a eye opener, and it allowed me to prepare myself for this season right here and the season that I'm walking into. And I'm so grateful for the abundance and the prosperity and the joy of the fruits that I am going to be receiving from the labor of my spirit. And we all are going to be receiving. It's a beautiful thing when people have taken the time to put in the effort to heal themselves and not do it on the basis of trying to get someone to acknowledge or accept them, but for themselves. And that's what my purpose is doing all of this for me. And it just feels good to just refill my cups, my body, my mind, my spirit. It feels wonderful. And as I self-exposed all these things that have burdened me, there were times that I've been a thief, had a DUI, had things that were tried to be imposed on me, but I beat a lot of those cases and wiped and expunged a lot of things. And fortunately, the Lord stepped in and didn't allow those things to actually happen, although they were threatened upon me and projected very heavily. He protected me from having those things to block me from my destiny and from my future, and as well as taking the writer's block away. Meeting my now ex-husband was a way to open me back up to my creativity, because he was a musician, and it very much inspired me to get back into writing. And I'm thankful for that. Someone who encouraged me to write, someone who didn't view me to just want me for my looks, because there's a lot of beautiful women, and was able to kind of really help me shed things from my ego that were very loud on my ego, but I wasn't trying to have them be. But it helped me to balance myself out and understand that there are people who can see me for me and won't just see me for a possession. And I appreciate knowing that there are men out there like that. It gives me hope for the future. And I look forward to tomorrow. I'm about to continue to enjoy my day today, exposing more about myself to myself. And as I do, I may shed another tear or two, but ultimately it's all smiles from here, because I've done a lot of healing, and the journey only gets better and grows better from here. And I wish you all blessings. This is BreiEndia, my 90-day self-journeys retreat in 808 Tavern. God bless.